interlude. Now we are at the third session and the final session for the day, titled Holistic Education and Human Excellence. And we have two wonderful speakers, Professor Panduranga Bhatta and Dr. Jayanti Chavan. So now I'd like to introduce the chair for the session, Sri C.R. Seshadri, who is Global President of Metal Power India. Just allow me to make a short introduction to Sri Seshadri, please. So Sri Seshadri is the Global Sales and Marketing President of Metal Power Analytical, an organization which manufactures scientific instruments for metallurgy applications. He holds a master's in analytical chemistry from Institute of Science and another master's in marketing management from Mumbai University, and has over 35 years of corporate experience. For over 2 decades, he has held key management positions at leading global companies such as Agilent Technologies, Thermo Fisher Scientific, and Oxford Instruments. He is a recipient of several awards in the professional field, including the prestigious President Council Award from Thermo Fisher in 2008. So I'd like to hand over the session to Mr. Seshadri, please, sir.
Thank you very much, Aristotle. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. A big namaskar and good evening to all the participants. Welcome to this third and the final concluding session of the day. So we had 2 wonderful sessions today. The first one was on Vedanta and science, and second on environmental sustainable development and spirituality. And we were so privileged to even watch the cultural program of the Manipuri dance by that little girl depicting the Dashavatar. It was really soul touching. So now the topic is very interesting for this particular session. It is holistic education and human excellence. And we have lined up 2 wonderful esteemed speakers. And it's my real privilege and honor to be introducing the first speaker of the day. And the topic that he would be touching upon is holistic education for development of human excellence. And it's my privilege to welcome Professor C. Panduranga Bhatta. He's the founder of Samanvaya Academy of Excellence, and he's also the former professor of IIM Calcutta. So Professor Panduranga Bhatta is the honorary advisor of SmartTale. He's a renowned Indologist and professor of business ethics and communication. He has over 4 decades of teaching and research experience at postdoctoral levels, besides being a leading consultant in India and abroad. After superannuating at the IIM Calcutta in 2017, he has founded the Samanvaya Academy of Excellence. This is in short acronymed as SAFE, and has immensely contributed to the educational institutions and corporates in educating their students and employees in ethics and values. Professor Bhatta has authored over a dozen enlightening books and more than 100 research papers on leadership, ethics, values, creative excellence, inclusive communication, managing power, positive psychology, tactic knowledge, among others. Wow. Professor Bhatta has been honored twice with Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Award for the distinctions achieved in academics, AIMS ICFI Best Teacher Award in 2011, Gold Medal by Association of Indian Management Schools, and Devang Mehta Award for the Best Teacher in Business Ethics and Communication in 2010. So before I hand over to Professor Bhatta, so a small reminder on the guidelines. So the talk will be for 45 minutes, sir. And after that, we will entertain question answers for 10 minutes. And then we'll go to the next speaker, same 1 hour. So it's my privilege to invite you, Dr. Professor Bhatta. Over to you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm very happy to be here. Respected Chairman, C.R. Seshadri, who has given a wonderful introduction to my achievements. And also I am thankful to Dr. Jayanti, who took the interest in inviting me to share some of my thoughts on this wonderful topic, like holistic education for development of human excellence. In fact, you may ask the question, what credentials you have to talk about the holistic education and also about human excellence. Let me tell you, I think as Seshadri ji has already mentioned, I have almost 40 years of experience. And out of 40 years, 20 years I spent as in the Center for Human Values under Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata. And there we started looking into educational system, particularly school education. Then, of course, we moved to college education, management education, and all those things. When we looked into school education, so we felt something is missing. So what is that missing dimension? So unless you go through the syllabus, unless you evaluate the students of their performance, not only in academics, but in elsewhere. So then we found that there are some gaps. So we initiated our own model, something like excellence in education. And what we did, we invited school principals, all boards, CBSE, ICSE, and so many other boards, state boards. And we had a lot of dialogues with them. And they also helped us in improving certain amounts of inputs, which we started giving to principals and also later senior teachers. And not only in India, we started this type of movement in UAE, Singapore, and other parts. Response is tremendous, response is good. So that means we felt that there is something missing dimension. What is that missing dimension? You may call that as a little bit of value education, human value education, or spiritual. Of course, this particular seminar is talking about the spirituality. We thought that spiritual part of education is missing. And how do we do, what do we do, and how to fulfill this huge responsibility of including a little bit of a holistic dimension, other dimensions of education. We thought of introducing our own model, maybe by conducting short duration programs for 3 days, 4 days, later maybe extended to a week or so. Then we shared our inputs and we helped them in identifying the right books. And I think tremendous progress. A lot of schools informed us that helped them in fine tuning this type of. So you may call it as holistic education, and we may call as educational excellence. Like I will share, because this is a short duration, I may not be able to go into the details, but I will share. First thing is starting, what is the importance of education? That is very important, knowledge gathering. Why one should gather knowledge? We started with that question. And a fantastic quotation from Swami Vivekananda answers that. The gift of knowledge is the highest gift in the world. Oh, you may give money, you may give other things, but those are all not, it's something like, giving fish and teaching them to how to fish, that type of thing. So the moment you give knowledge, so they become full-fledged human beings, they get skills, and they become fit to undertake certain undertakings, or to extend certain jobs and all those things. So gift of knowledge is the highest gift in the world. Then if it is gift, and how it is given and what type of knowledge we are meaning and all those things.
So can you make it full screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
sir. Thank you.
Now you have hundreds of books on education. So UNESCO, for example, is publishing a lot of books of education models and all those. Then we have our own ancient Indian education model and all those things. So we studied all those things, and in order to give you in some kind of nutshell, we say that aims of education is to make students what? Knowledgeable, then socially concerned, compassionate, liberal, inclusive, ethical, humane. Now the question is, are we doing these things, and are we taking certain measures to make them knowledgeable? Yes, definitely they are becoming knowledgeable. I mean, subject expertise, like they become good mathematicians, good chemists, good engineers, good doctors, all those things are there. Socially concerned. This is the problem now. Of course, modern world is facing that. People are becoming self-centered and they don't want to look into others' problems. So how you make them socially concerned, sensitive to the problems of others around them, and compassionate, liberal, and inclusive. This is very much needed. I think this should be the focus of so many seminars, so many conferences. Why? We accepted the globalized world. Now we move freely to other countries, and the people from other countries come to us. All these things are happening. Now, do you include people? I'm not talking of only including disabled people and all those things, including people of irrespective of their religions, ethnic backgrounds, linguistic backgrounds, and all those things. So this is how to develop mindset. Inclusive mindset should be the first concern when you talk of holistic education. Ethical, because our center was talking, even now it is talking of human values. Human values are part of ethics, actually, how to make ethical. And so one or two examples may be given. So we said that ethics, very important. Of course, there are people who talk of various minds, ethical mind, creative mind, response, all those. Recently, I was talking to foreign professors. They were telling, can you give one tagline, which we take as from India, something like that, and we want how to promote this ethical mindset and all. So I said, being honest when no one is watching. That should be the standard of ethical teaching. That's if you teach, no, you follow these principles, otherwise you will be caught. There are so many agencies. No, that is not the way of making people ethical. Like we give examples of Indian people, maybe Sariyam Vishwesharaya, Bharata Ratna Sariyam Vishwesharaya. What type of ethical mindset he had and how he executed the project. Wonderful learning. Now every September 15th, we are celebrating Engineers Day as his birthday, for example. But the thing is, do we look into those people and how they maintain this ethical self, and all those things are very important. I give you one small example. He was ethical to the core. So when he was having papers issued by government agencies, and he himself would have purchased some papers. Another thing is, he wants to take up some government project or some personal project. So which paper he should use? So he was holding the paper into the light, and if there is an emblem issued by what's called printed by Government of Karnataka, Government of India, he will not use that paper for personal writings. He will rather use papers which he would have bought by spending his own money. This is a fantastic. And not only him, like I would like to take you back to Kautilya, famous Chanakya, for example. He was having two lamps. So two candles or two lamps and all those things. He was, while writing one type of letters, he was lighting one lamp. Another type of letter lighting another lamp. Each passerby became very curious. They asked Chanakya, what is the secret? Why can't you finish all your correspondence by using only one lamp? Why do you need two lamps? Chanakya said, there is a secret. What is secret? Oil for one lamp comes from the treasury. So when I do government correspondence, I lit that lamp. Oil for another lamp comes from my personal fund. So when I do my personal, I think this is the highest watermark in ethicals, actually. As I said, no one. So you are honest when no one is watching. That type of thing you should. So the humane, now this, because I was teaching human values, so a lot of examples are. As I said, United Nations is concerned about these things. There are various educational the bodies who are concerned about holistic education, what type of education we are giving. So in order to cut short, we can say some points like human rights, tolerance, democracy, responsibility, universality, cultural identity, search for peace, preservation of the environment. I heard some lectures earlier, session speakers, they were all concerned about the environment, water, how to save, conserve water, how to save forest, all those things should become. Now I say ancient India, because I am an Indologist, I can give you a lot of examples from ancient India. Their approach to environment is fantastic. I say there are two approaches. One is the ecological approach. I say what we know now, a lot of science, a lot of these things have come. why you should protect animals, why you should protect plants. Because if you don't protect, there will be some new diseases, not only corona, Omicron, some new diseases also may come. Because so that is the ecological approach. What is the ecological approach? It is calculative. So if you don't protect the tiger, something may happen, some new disease may. Therefore, you have to protect the tiger. Whereas I will take you back to Ashokan type of ecology, Kautilyan type of ecology, or Vedic type of ecology. They say deep ecology. We call it as deep ecology. Americans have used the word deep ecology. I'm using deep ecology. Just you are preserving, you are conserving for the sake of conservation. You don't apply any calculation there. No, if this plant goes, may I lose some kind of medicinal value plant, something like, no, you don't. All God's creation, it is your single duty to protect all the animals and all the plants, like as entire earth as it is, something like preservation of the environment. I think I request schools and other participants attending this, you should get into deep ecological. That is, for say, I was conducting some interview. So he has written a beautiful thesis on sustainable development. I just asked him, so I will ask only one question. It happened in IIT Madras. I will ask only one question. If you answer satisfactorily, I will not ask any question because you have worked on sustainable environment. So what is the question? I say, I'll give one example. Tiger should not be killed. Okay. So now you analyze this statement from ecological point of view and from deep ecological point of view. I want to test whether he knows a little bit of deep ecological. He said his answer was fantastic. He said, tiger should not be killed because if tiger goes away, goes out of the planet, some new diseases may come. This is ecological approach. Then tiger should not be killed because it is there. That's all. It is God's creation. This is deep ecological approach. So now deep ecology is picking up in some of the American universities. So now we should concentrate on that. Particularly, we have rich evidence of deep ecology in Vedas and Upanishads, and when you come to Kalidasas and others, for example, Sanskrit. So the sharing of knowledge. Now, how we make people share their wonderful knowledge, because knowledge is a very prestigious thing, what I pointed out. It should be shared. I will come to this particular point maybe after one. Now, when you go to UNESCO, so the four approaches, they say learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, learning to be. This is a wonderful scheme, and we are asking schools, what are you doing? So learning to know, subject expertise, you are good. Many schools are good in this. There's no doubt about it. Even IITs, IIMs are good in this. Learning to do action-oriented project. So now you make them learn through projects, and they go to some villages and observe what is done there, and through that they learn. Come to learning to live together. Now this is the biggest problem. So right now we are facing this problem, how we help people to live together. Without peace, there is no development. Without peace, actually, there is no environment, there is nothing. We have seen some of the countries which are suffering because there is no peace, and a lot of conflicts and lot of violence and lot of destruction. Now we should stop. We should not allow this to happen. So therefore I say, what are the values and how we inculcate such values in students so that they appreciate others' cultures, others' language, others' ethnic background, like that. Learning to be. This is highly, I say this is a spiritual aspect of the being. Some of the speakers have touched that also. Now, emotional intelligence is very famous. After Daniel Goleman, everyone is talking of emotional intelligence, and students should be taught about this right from the beginning. So what are the aspects? Like, so we say that physical, that type of talent and physical, all those things, exercises, yoga, all those things are there. Then the mental, this is one of the very important aspects of emotional intelligence. So now how do we develop their sound minds in them, something like that? emotions, how we teach them to handle their emotions. There are good emotions, there are bad emotions. They have to develop good emotions. They have to control negative emotions such as anger, frustration, so many. So then spiritual, I come to that a little bit later. No, I say when you look into ancient India, because I am an Indologist, I have done a lot, and our latest book has come, Art of Leading in a Borderless World. It is doing around now, and some of the countries, particularly in UAE, they have made a course out of that. They are also concerned about that. Of course, how to give this type of knowledge to corporate leaders and other leaders, something like. So I say it is very simple. Value practice, for example, human value education, human needs and values. There will be a lot of conflicts, and the ancient Indians have talked about this dharma, artha, kama, moksha. I simply say one side material development, another side spiritual well-being, spiritual development. What comes under material, like the bodily, fulfilling bodily needs, like kama, my desire to have good house, my desire to have sex, my desire to have, so a lot of things. For that, you need an artha. Without wealth, you can't. So that is very important. And now they have introduced the concept called dharma and take care of the ethical values. Without values, if you earn money, that may not be good. And if you enjoy or experience your bodily pleasures, that may not be good. So always you should be rooted in dharma. So Vyasa at the beginning of Mahabharata says, there is a beautiful shloka, dharma arthascha kamascha sakimartam na sevyate urdva bahur virovmesha. He says, I am shouting with my uplifted arms. What do you shout? What are you shouting? People may say, dharma arthascha kamascha. Artha and kama, the material being like wealth and the experiencing of pleasure, should come through dharma, should be rooted in dharma. If they are not rooted in dharma, you will not get any. And this is the position taken by Kautilya. This is the position taken by Rama in Ramayana and so many other things. Spiritual well-being. Now, as I said, our concern towards society. So there we are good and we are happy. There are many others, they are suffering and they may not be having enough to do, enough to live and all those things. Now we should have some kind of, that is the moksha aspect, something. So our sufferings, we have successfully put into our suffering. Now we should take some measures to help others like Buddha and others, for example. So how you educate youngsters to take care of this? So I say my simple methodology is strategic pursuit of human needs. Each one of us, we want to pursue human needs, like artha I need, like kama I need, and moksha, of course, this is some in the case of great people, Shankaracharya maybe or Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, they directly go to moksha. They are not interested in the making money and also, but we are all common people, so we want to make money, we want to enjoy the pleasures of mundane pleasures, and fine, you do all those things, but take care of the dharma, moral and social order. Now, Patanjali, when we talk of Patanjali's yoga, there are so many steps, 8 steps, and you know all those things. But I say it starts with yama, niyama. Yama and niyama are the values. For example, as I say, interpersonal ethics and intrapersonal ethics. And now we don't give too much of importance to all these things. So therefore, we should say ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. Patanjali means the ancient sage who has written the Yoga Sutras. And he talks of this actually in a wonderful manner. Without this, there is no, you can't live in the world. So you need your, particularly how you interact with your colleagues, your friends and other human beings, and all these values. So you have to speak truth. You have, first principle is you have to accept the non-violent type of living. Second is Patanjali is very sure of the emotional intelligence. So when I talk of yoga, particularly niyama part, this covers the emotional intelligence. See, cleanliness, shaucha, that is a physical. So we all know how to take bath, how to make ourselves beautiful, and all those things are there. Then the thing is mind, this is the problem. So there are good, what's called the emotions, bad emotions. So mental cleanliness, Patanjali talks of. So now you have to all these like anger, jealousy, such they are termed kama, krodha, lobha, moha, matsarya. You have the list of these bad emotions. And shaucha means you have to purify. You must accept. We have to teach youngsters to adopt certain methods so that they don't get into all these negative emotions. They are in the positive emotion. Happiness, contentment. This is very important. Greed, need. Mahatma Gandhi said, earth has for everyone's need, not for everyone's greed. So how do you tell? Because everyone now in the present day situation, we want to buy these, we want to change our car, but we don't know what type of environmental damages we are doing, like changing several cars, producing an umpteen number of things. All those things are so contentment. Patanjali is the master. He said, try to have happiness with what you possess. So it is not against business, it's not against development. Because Patanjali is not telling you should not enjoy a very good material life or something. He said, but there should be limit. For example, sometimes I see some people, they store some 8, 9 fruit juices in their what's called the refrigerators. So I see when I go there, they want to ask me, which one you want to have, orange or apple or this one. And in my very presence, that person has removed 4, 5 bottles and he said the expiry date is over. I am just throwing out. What type of culture we are encouraging by this? So choice. What rather I say you have only one. So when I say you give orange juice, I'll be happiest. That's all. I don't demand that whatever I want, you should store, you should give. These are the lifestyle methods. We should talk of that. Hard work now, that is very important. Now we should work hard, particularly the huge population, and there is need. And we should become, we cannot have some kind of, we can get the example of Swami Vivekananda and others, for example, in that how they work with Karma Yoga methodology, all those things. So Adhyaya, whatever books have to be studied, you study. Then higher, this is again very interesting thing. He is not prescribing any name of the god or something. Ishvara is the highest Lord. He may be Vishnu, he may be Shiva, he may be Allah, he may be Jesus. This is the scope of Veda. So Veda, particularly Patanjali, I come to this very interesting, see, because we are in the holistic education. We are discussing the modern. So how we get knowledge? Have beautifully said teachers, then the self-study method is there, then the classmates, then Acharyat Padamadatte, Padam Shishya Swamedaya, Padam Sabbrahmacharibhya, Padam Kalakramecha. What we get from teachers is only 25%. So if we have not got good knowledge, we cannot put the blame on the teachers. They have done their duties. Why? Because self-study. So they give assignment. Do we complete those assignments? Do we, say like in Panchatantra, it's a very beautiful text actually. Vishnu Sharma said, okay, it is stated in Mahabharata, as it is stated in Mahabharata, he underlined. Now, if you are further curious in knowing that particular topic, you should go to Mahabharata. Like the teachers say, yes, this is from the Bhagavad Gita, this is from yoga. And you should go to yoga, you should go to Bhagavad Gita, because they cannot bring all those texts and complete the education in the class. So self-study is very, very important. And classmate, what you discuss, there should be some kind of congenial environment. And it is there in most of the schools. And you should encourage, you should talk, you should try to get what's called knowledge from lifelong learning and experiential learning. It comes to everyone, maybe later. So I said, they said the Paravidya, Aparavidya, holistic education means complete. So this is Paravidya, Aparavidya, what we are doing, chemistry, mathematics, physics, engineering, medical, everything. Paravidya is highest knowledge, self-spiritual knowledge. So that is why now we should see whether we are giving education, the 2 dimensions of education or not. Sometimes we are excelling in giving Aparavidya. But we are good. India has attained the stage. But Paravidya, are we making them value-based citizens? Are they contributing to the progress of the country? So many issues come in the spiritual one. So humility, little bit all of a sudden we see people are becoming knowledgeable and they are becoming arrogant. no humbleness. This is the thing. There are a lot of leadership books which highlight the importance of humility. I see, we have a lot of examples. We need not go abroad at all. Ashoka comes to my mind. I have delivered a lot of lectures and written a lot of articles about this. One day he was going on a chariot and he meets Buddhist monks. And he's asking the chariot, please stop the chariot. I want to get down from the chariot and offer pranam. And he stops and Ashoka gets down, offers pranam to monk and gets back to the chariot. Now chariot is asking, king, why are you doing this? You are not supposed to do this. You are a king. You know everything. Who are they? They are monks. They are beggars. He said, Ashoka cuts his chariot into size and says, you don't know what type of knowledge dwells in these people. That's a fantastic example of humility. So humility, we should encourage the students to have a lot of humility so that they go to others, they learn from others, not only from other people, other countries, worthiness, then the money, power, ethics, and happiness. So this is beautiful. I say a little bit now, should we teach religions or not? Yes, it's some kind of secular and a lot of debates are going on. But the thing is, there should be scope for teaching all sorts of religion. This is the interpretation of secularism given by Mahatma Gandhi and others. Sarva Dharma Samabhava. That's all. So how do we teach this? So you Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Islam, Christianity, they have each religion has got a very interesting teaching device. We should encourage people to learn those religions and those technology, those beautiful devices, like some kind of memorization. In India, we put shlokas into memory, and group singing. It is happening in so many other religions. Storytelling, we are very famous. Our Puranas, Upanishads, and others, lot of stories. Showing pictures. Buddha, for example, the Lord Buddha was excellent in showing pictures and explaining. Now we have case study methodology. We have game methodology we can use. But the thing is, we should use all religion. Teaching outcomes. What we expect from religious teaching? Acquiring skill and knowledge, respecting one's own faith. Sometimes I am reminded of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's parables. Just you tell one parable, they will maybe Panditji and the boatman. So what type of knowledge comes to students through such? And Tantra is full of, and we should be using that. So the knowledge, we should encourage people in sharing knowledge. I quote a shloka, Apurvaha koshoyam tava vidyate bharati, veto vruddhimayati, kshayamayati sanchayat. What a beautiful Sanskrit shloka. So Lord Goddess Saraswati, you have a beautiful, unique treasure. What is the uniqueness of this treasure? When spent, it grows. When hoarded, it diminishes. That's why I said, I am also sharing now. When I share, you also share. Some people, other people will share, and my knowledge bank. This is a simple technique used by ancient India. So I say this knowledge sharing should be encouraged. All the children should be encouraged to unity. Now the problem, for example, the inclusive approach and all those, I may cover another 5-10 minutes. Problem today is not to wipe away differences, but how to unite while keeping the differences intact. A difficult task. Guruji, for example, Rabindranath Tagore said something like that. So now I know I was teaching tourism students also. Tourism survives on diversity only. And India is known for diversity, language diversity, linguistic diversity, cultural diversity, music, whatnot, food. So we should help them in maintaining this one. So I said our Vedas and Upanishads, they are full of inclusive statements, like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what our Honorable Prime Minister also chants and repeats many times. Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadat. This is a beautiful, yesterday I was attending a lecture delivered by none other than Swami Sarvapriyananda of Ramakrishna Mutt order. He was talking from New York. Right now he is in New York. He is simple. He has expanded this statement in a very simple manner. Problem of one and the many. That's all. One is Advaita Vedanta, real, and we are all one, or that type of thing. But many, but we see differences. Different people wear different dresses. They speak different tongues. They have different features. But how do we reconcile this? topic for Ano Badraha Kratavoyantu Vishwata. Let noble thoughts come to us from all quarters. This is the motto of Bharati Vidya Bhavan. They are publishing books on Hinduism, publishing books on Christianity. Like that is the approach. So let us be open. Let us learn from all cultures. Just quickly. So when I talk of inclusion, I talk of three inclusion. Now this has become, because of the corona, because of other environmental dangers, we say that environment should be included. How do we do this? Religious inclusion. So I think I may say in my book, in our book, Art of Leading in a Bottomless World, fifth chapter is about environmental inclusion. Title is If We Care for Nature, She Cares for Us. And we have done wonderful research for almost 10 years and we have completed. And when you come to religion, our sixth chapter, religious pluralism is the need of the hour. Heading of the chapter, religious pluralism is the need of the hour. And the last, human inclusion. I think we have a lot of examples in our last chapter that is called universal welfare is business welfare. That's all. So if you want to progress business-wise, you have to take care of the universal welfare. There should not be any discrimination in your projects, like when you do something like CSR and all those things that we have. So the environmental inclusion, we have a lot of examples from our Vedas, Upanishads, all our prayers. For example, we don't have individual prayers. Rather, we say, let that be good for the earth, let that be good for the sky. Shanti, 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 Shanti Pata is there. And our rites and rituals, in many rites and rituals, we worship stones, we worship snakes, we worship trees. All these are symbols. Now we are realizing the values of these rites and rituals. And a very holy attitude towards, a very reverential attitude. We have Mother Earth, for example. And the Ganga, the Jala, for example, is pure, fire, all lot of. And I say sometimes we have to encourage students to learn all these. My favorite poet is Sanskrit poet Kalidasa. If they read Shakuntala, Abhigyana Shakuntala drama, particularly the fourth act, I think they will have their environmental lessons. He has beautifully delineated the characters, like Shakuntala, the heroine. He says very simply something. She was not taking water in the morning before watering the plants. Who does this? Now we are away from all these spirits. So that's why poet says when Shakuntala was about to leave the forest, entire forest wept as it were. So that's why I say in our book we are discussing, if we care for nature, she cares for us. That's that. Poets, a lot of other poets are also there, like Panduranga Bhatta, I can quote. He has got a lot of lessons in environmental, plants and animals, how to protect and all those. Like religion now. So I said there should be scope for religion. There is we can't do without religion and all those. Religion, beautiful musics and devotional hymns, devotional song, a lot of things are there. And the little bit of stress management can be taken care of using the religion and yoga and all those things. Sarva Dharma Samabhava. So now we should teach our students, particularly IIT, IIM also. And I was in IIM, was making this type of effort. Respect all religions. So this I have taken from Dalai Lama. So I met him also. So what he is telling is there are 4 aspects of religion. 3 aspects like concept of God, ways of salvation, mythology. We differ from them. Islam differs from Hinduism. Christianity differs from Islam, like that. But come to the last one, spiritual. That uniting people, basic it. So compassion, love, sharing, commitment to truth, self-control. You tell me which religion is not talking of these values, universal value. So therefore now in holistic education, we should give importance to the last aspect of the religion. There won't be any conflict. There won't be any. Like we have many, for example, I am a Hindu, but I go to Sikh temple, Gurudwaras, like that. I go to church. There's no problem. It should, and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa comes to my mind. He was going to masjid, he was going to church, he was going to. So that we have to bring back that type of holistic education. Swami Vivekananda comes to my mind. What he tells, I think there are many books. I recommend only one book, Swami on himself. The best book published by Ramakrishna Mission. And so Swamiji is revealing. Of course, you have books on Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, and all those things if you want.
Sir, excuse me, can you kindly conclude in 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'll. What we have to do, like Swamiji's book on Swami on himself, he discloses his personality, what he was studying, what he was interested, and all those. So by this is a very interesting thing. Ashoka comes to my mind. Of course, I have delivered a lecture on this. If you want to know more about this, go to YouTube and put Enlighten Leadership of Ashoka. Full lecture is there. Last, of course, respect to pluralism is the need of the hour. We say listening and respecting the doctrines professed by others. Learning the good doctrines of first, let us read, let us study our own religions, our own philosophical text. Then we can definitely study others. So, and restraint in speech, hate speech. Now, Supreme Court is looking into this particular dimension. You are not supposed to express anything like that. So hate speech is bad against the Constitution. So how to control our speeches, how to speak about our religion, others' religion. Finally, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as I said, whole world. So Mahatma Gandhi comes to my mind. He fought untouchability in India, first in South Africa, then in India. Then Abraham Lincoln and so many other people are coming. You can study. Finally, of course, this is a conference on spirituality also. What is the meaning of spirituality? Spirituality is the basic feeling of being connected with one's complete self. That is holistic education. Your emotional self and intellectual self, like. Then the interconnectedness. And last, because I have written some papers in management. So I quote the definition of spirituality as appearing in management book. Life is sacred. Sacred element is within oneself and within each living being. Regardless of extreme differences, we share a commonality. From this sacred commonality springs core values of human decency. And if we honor these values, they influence our decisions and relationships. Finally, we say 21st century connotation of spirituality, quest for meaning and purpose in life. Then the realizing the interconnectedness. Now this topic is becoming very important. Everything is connected. Advaita Vedanta, for example, going beyond self-interest, we should encourage students to get into this thing, making difference, little bit of contributing, living the value. I say don't talk of values. You live the values, simple values as practiced by Mahatma Gandhi and others. Positive attitude, word, living a legacy. Yes. So finally, the last one I say, so holistic education, a very beautiful prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha. Let all be happy, let all be free from diseases, let all see auspicious things, let none suffer from grief. And this should be our motto finally in holistic education. I have completed. Thank you for wonderful listening. Now, of course, we have some time for question and answer. I will get out of these slides. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor, for being spot on. You just, in fact, you had 1 minute more to complete, but you were ahead of time. It was a very nice and crisp presentation, very nicely compiled. In fact, in essence, you presented, what it takes to really develop holistically the human excellence, so that we can really realize our full potential. Because excellence is all about realizing a potential. And I also really liked you covered so many points, including the 3 pillars of inclusion. They virtually cover everything: environmental, religious, and in religious again, the pinnacle was spirituality. The ultimate, the highest principle of religion is spirituality. So that was also very nicely touched upon. And also, most importantly, the human inclusions. In most of the time in dealings, this one aspect is ignored. It's always one tries to dominate, the stronger tries to dominate over the weaker, even in the organizations. So this human inclusion is a very good point, so that there can be nice harmony across the dealings. And I also liked upon the various divine qualities that you touched upon. You know, some of the qualities that I can recollect. I think that was part of the Patanjali yoga. I don't,
yoga.
yeah. So like, you know, love, honesty,
Exactly.
ethics, integrity, and compassion, etc. So that was, these are all divine, which cannot be, I mean, it comes only from the scriptures, or, you know, we have to learn from the sages. So these things were very nicely taught in the Gurukul school of education, if you remember, you know, in the olden times. But unfortunately, the present style of teaching is focusing more on, I don't know, apara vidya. You mentioned about para and apara. The focus is more on apara, and by some way or other, just we have to try to, look for material prosperity and not look for happiness within. So all in all, a very good presentation. Now it's time to take questions. So let me just look at the chat box if there are any questions so that I can direct them to you. Yes, there are quite a few questions. So let me go one by one. I'm just reading them. 1 second. One second. I'm having a difficulty in moving. Yeah, I got it. So the first question is by Pranav. Pranav is from SSSIHL. I believe that stands for Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. He's asking you, sir, I agree knowledge is power. It's a very long question actually. Sir, I agree knowledge is power. Generally, information leads to knowledge, which in turn leads to wisdom. And today, we live in a society of infobesity. We are bombarded with information from all directions, and Google has all the information, which is just a click away from our fingers. So where should we focus on where information is freebie? I'll repeat. So where should we focus on where information is freebie? Keen to listen to your thoughts on this. So can you kindly answer him?
I fully agree. Now we are in a situation, we are bombarded by information loads and all. But again, I said the 4 parts that Acharya, Padamada, 10, Swa Medhaya. Now we have to develop our own intellect in such a manner, what to take, what not to take, what is useful. I say now challenge, if I go to class and start telling something, everything is in the Google. So now I should be able to give something which they will never not be able to find in Google. It's very difficult. But the thing is, if they use their own intellect, Swamedha, I think it is possible to discriminate what is good, what is bad, and otherwise what I say, I have a simple, if you are becoming knowledgeable through WhatsApp University, I think that is knowledge. If you are becoming knowledgeable through books written by great persons like Mahatma Gandhi or Vivekananda, or even Bhagavad Gita, that is good. So this discrimination we are losing now. So I am telling everyone, don't go to shortcut, because WhatsApp teaches you Bhagavad Gita. I think we don't know the authenticity and what they, sometimes they you also. This is my, so therefore I say get back to the original books and get back to original scholars and research and all those things. So you will be on the good track, no problem. That is my take on that issue. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Next question. So next question is from Adnan Saha. He's from SKMS Agartala. So he says, my question is our education system really ethical to enlighten us spiritually through academics?
See, I think the problem is, I think teachers are very honest, and most of the educational institutions are very honest in giving good education, and they are ethical also, I think. But the problem is sometimes now educational institutions are becoming commercial. Now they want to make money, hook or crook, and sometimes, you know, what I say something, if you read the website of an institute, so many things are put there. But if you pay so much of money and join that institute, you may not get. So this is the missing dimension. I think we have to get back to ethical, whatever we write there, we should be able to fulfill. Which. So this, I think, but large number of institutes, particularly I am from IIM background, IIM, IITs, and there are umpteen number of universities which are doing good work and which are ethical also, which are not exploiting, which are not telling anything wrong or something like that. So one has to use one's own judgment and one has to come to conclusion.
Thank you, sir. There's a question from, or there's a compliment actually from Mr. Rajam. You are explaining the subject in a very nice, lucid manner. Okay, then let's go to the question. Okay, there is a question by Milinder Sagar from Mumbai. He says, if the concept of God, ways of salvation, and mythology divides and only ethics unites, ethics is also found to be relative, mostly applicable to human-centric society with minimum or no value for other living entities. How do we address this?
It's a very tough question for me because I have not done a lot of things related to God, related to all those things. So I may not venture to answer that. Okay. Yeah. Anybody is interested, or a chairman, if you want to enlighten us, you do. Otherwise, I leave the question.
Okay, let's understand, if concept of God, ways of salvation, and mythology divides and only ethics unites, yeah. Ethics is also found to be relative, mostly applicable to human-centric society with minimum or no value for other living entities. How do we address this? So I think what he's trying to highlight here is ethics is fundamentally for human beings, and if the concept of God, ways of salvation, mythology divides and only ethics unites, I think probably religion divides, but spirituality unites. So
yeah, that is 100% correct.
Yeah.
That is there. That
okay.
There. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
The next question is from Mr. Niket from CMRIT Bangalore. He's asking, is it not the two words honesty and success in some way contradicting? For example, a successful businessman makes a higher profit, and for that in some loss to the customer due to overcharging. So in other words, businessman is making profit, he overcharges, and it's a loss for the customer. So is it not contradicting honesty and success?
See, there is no contradiction. Actually, we have umpteen number of leaders, business leaders who are rooted in honesty. I can quote Infosys, for example, or Tata, for example. So many other organizations in India and abroad also, like Body Shop comes to my mind. I have done a case study on that particular. So I think there are many companies which are rooted, which are based on ethics only. They are making profit, and even profit, how they are distributing, how they are spending some amount of profit towards their CSR and other activities. These things should be taken in. Otherwise, the exact cheating and all those things, there are laws. For example, there are many laws, and laws should take care of those things. I think if they are cheating customers, if they are cheating community, if they are exploiting their common resources, then they should take care of. And now they are doing that. A lot of cases are there against companies which are overusing natural resources, or which are exploiting human beings. All those things come under that only. Otherwise, there is no contradiction as such. If you want to be a very honest businessman, yes, you can be a businessman and you can make a lot of profit also through legal means. Yeah, ethical.
Right. Ethical means. Yeah. So same gentleman has asked another question. You consulted with many educational boards. So are they self-sufficient, or if they want, if then, read again. You consulted with many educational boards. So are they self-sufficient, or if any, then what kind of improvement needed for more enhancement?
This is finance and other things. I don't look into that. I just go to schools and talk to their principals and boards. I am very much interested in implementing certain educational schemes like holistic education and other things. Now, of course, in UAE, I am now approaching many institutions because they are interested in a little bit of what's called inclusion and all those things. So I am that only. I am not looking into whether they are whether they have money or those things. I am not looking into that. Yeah.
So we have another 2 minutes. So maybe we can take 2 or 3 questions. There are several questions just coming on the chat. So this is one question I'm taking from France. There is Mr. Dider Mogin. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. He has asked how to integrate the values of old Gurukula in modern education.
Yeah, I think this is a topic everyone is interested in knowing, and government of India is also right now, they are also concerned about this. So I think we should first start teaching religious values. We should, because somehow we thought that religion should not be openly taught in schools, etc. But now that view is going away. I think all religions, I think we can make a compendium of good values, as chairman also mentioned. So it's very important, we should take good aspects of all religion, like Christianity or Islam or Hinduism or something like that. There should be some kind of, as we started in human value education. So in IIM, our approach was a little bit religious. Religious means complete, all religions we were including. So we used to invite maybe Christian scholars and Hindu scholars, that type of thing should be done. So the teacher and taught, that bond should be re-established. I don't know why now the number is too much, and a teacher cannot handle 80 students or 100 students. So that should a small component, a small classroom type of thing we should be able to handle, maybe 25. And a teacher should have so many things, she should look into so many aspects of child's personality. I think these things can be worked out and can be done, can be implemented in modern day also.
Yeah, and just maybe if I may add, teaching is now perceived as more of a commercial. It's become a commercial angle, unfortunately. Exactly. Whereas in the olden times, it was more of giving the real value knowledge. Okay, maybe we'll take 1 or 2 questions more. Let me go back to the chat box. There is one question from Mr. Dr. Devashish Khan. He is complimenting first. So thank you very much for your nice presentation. And then the question: can I know where from the ethical values generate?
Again, we have to read a lot of literature, so the religious literature. So they are, all religions talk of ethics, as I said, compassion and so many values they talk. And we can start with our own religious scriptures. Maybe Bhagavad Gita is the best example, Ramayana story, like that. A lot of stories are there in Puranas. So we have to pick up the stories which are teaching a little bit of ethics and good values, and we have to promote. Maybe we have to print and distribute, or we have to record and the broadcast, all those things we should do. I think the literature is enough. Even Kalidasa, for example, see, there is a beautiful, I think I will take only half a minute time to say, how you get the values. They say like Vedas. So Vedas are compared to kings, like they teach that like kings, they order Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara. So you cannot question that, you cannot have any dialogue. Come to Mitra Samhitas like Puranas and other things. They're like a friend. So they teach you something, like your friend, they advise you, then they get away from that. They won't force you. And the last one is the Kavya aspect, Kanta Samhita, like a spouse. So if you read, for example, I have read complete works of Kalidasa. What type of values I got implemented, or this one, inculcated in me, I can't tell you. This is a very interesting thing. So like Kanta Samhita, spouse. So spouse, how they get their things done, nobody knows. That they do like. So this is the action done by literature. I say we should get into literature, good literature.
Thank you so much, sir. It has been a real pleasure and privilege to have you on this particular session. And we would like to ask more questions, but unfortunately, because of the time constraint, we have to go to the next speaker. But we'll ensure that
Jayanti, and I thank you, sir. You have conducted this session in a wonderful manner. I thank all the participants.
No, we will see if there are more interesting questions, and if the quest is still there and it's not answered, we will post it to you. We have your email address, and we will ensure that their quest is quenched completely.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot once again. So now we move to the second speaker of this session, and the topic that she's going to talk on is thoughts, Dr. T.D. Singh's thoughts on holistic education, new insights based on Athato Brahma Jijnasa. And the speaker I'm privileged to introduce today in this particular talk is Dr. Jayanti Ranganathan Chavan. So Dr. Jayanti Ranganathan Chavan is the founder founder president of the Institute of Science and Religion at Navi, Mumbai, in Mumbai, India. So little bit about her background. Dr. Jayanti was appointed as the founder president of the Institute of Science and Religion by Dr. T.D. Singh. If people are wondering who is Dr. T.D. Singh, he's right behind me. The photograph behind me is Dr. T.D. Singh in 2005, after she served him for a decade. She is an alumnus of the University of Mumbai. Her academic background has a rare blend of mathematics, computer applications, philosophy, and religion, with a doctorate in philosophy. She is a recipient of Higher Education Forum, the Best Teachers Award of 2018 for her social service in education. She is also a member of the Indian Women Scientists Association and Higher Education Forum. Formerly, for a decade, she served in the industry and academics. For 6 years, she was heading the computer department at St. Xavier's Technical Institute College in Mumbai, served as on the board of Technical Education Maharashtra. Under her able leadership, ISR has organized more than 30 workshops, seminars, and participated in more than 40 national and international conferences in science, management, interfaith, education, ethics, and spirituality related themes. Wonderful. She served as the chairman of a unique 2-day national conference with the University of Mumbai on science and spirituality in the age of technology. She has authored and edited 6 books in several areas of science and spirituality interface. She has presented 35 academic research papers in this domain, and more than 25 have been published. Her major research are in the broad domain of science and spirituality interface for the benefit of the academic community, as well as in the consciousness study from philosophy Vedanta perspective. What a CV! Wow, great. So we are really privileged and honored to have you on for this session, Dr. Jayanti Madam. So it's all yours. Please start now, and we will go on for the next 1 hour. Yeah. Thank you.
My screen, okay. Thank you, Sri Seshadri, for your generous introduction. Grateful to the organizers and the chairperson. And I also take this opportunity to welcome and thank my colleagues who are participating. Especially, I have 2 senior colleagues. One is I have Professor A.K. Gupta, founder convener of Higher Education Forum and former director of S.P. Jain's Management Institute and Research. And I have Professor D.V. Prabhu, chairman of Bombay Association of Science Education under TIFR. And he's also the secretary of All India Association of Chemistry Teachers and formerly HOD Chemistry Department from Wilson College, Mumbai. And there are some other colleagues also from US, Dr. Roy Pereira, who is teaching now in Loyola University in US, formerly vice principal and HOD Chemistry of St. Xavier's College. And I thank all of them to be part of this. And let me share my screen. My screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's visible. You can make it full screen.
Yeah. Is it okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. My topic, Dr. T.D. Singh's thoughts on holistic education, new insight based on Athato Brahma Jijnasa. Actually, the inspiration behind goes back to 1994, It all happened first time. First time I was meeting K.D. Singh. First time I was hearing his lecture. And that was the first time I heard something. He said the goal of human life is to attain distinction in human form of life. And that he identified with the journey of Athato Brahma Jijnasa. So it was something amazing for me because we try to understand distinction in terms of our curriculum, and highest marks in mathematics or science or anywhere. We try to keep distinction as a goal and accordingly we prepare. But never it has struck to us, though we are human beings, that it is possible to attain distinction. Or it has never struck to us that we should have some reference to achieve something in our life, So this has been our inspiration for this talk. Of course, over the period of time, his publication, his conversations, lectures, all have inspired. And based on that, I've compiled it. And I'm thankful to Professor Bhatta. He has done a lot of my work, so I don't have to touch those areas. But I will take in a different little realm, because my background is a combination of science, philosophy, and education. So you'll find all the three mixed up in this. And my dedication definitely to Dr. T.D. Singh, my pillar and my mentor and everything, founder, director, Bhaktivedanta Institute, founder, chief advisor, Institute of Science and Religion in Mumbai, and Swami Prabhupada, founder, Acharya, Bhaktivedanta Institute. Both are the pillars of our spiritual journey as well as the Bhaktivedanta Institute mission. Okay, this is the outline of our presentation. We have a brief introduction and an overview of Dr. T.D. Singh thoughts on holistic education, and then uniqueness and orbits of human form to understand how to fit in the holistic education. And then we have purpose and reflections and summing up. And I ran short of time. I could not prepare the references, but let me tell you, everything is from T.D. Singh publications, his conversations, lectures, ISR publications, and our work. So introduction. So basically our premise have taken from the challenges which the present student community, faculty all are facing. And this has been the regular challenges they had been facing even before the pandemic. These are based on our interviews with faculty as well as students, like competitive exam and peer pressure, lack of goal, parents' dream, and many things are there, job, worrying, relationship issue, addiction, over expectation, and all those things. And additionally, we have these pandemic challenges. And these are really of concern because now challenges are adding, and it makes sense to re-evaluate and re-examine the education, where we are heading to. We have deep uncertainty, anxiety about studies and career, and then devices, network issues have come up definitely since unusual switchover from classroom to this, not even blended, it is a clear online mode. So it is not so easy, it was sudden transition. Then there is digital fatigue, information processing, memory issues, all this are being gathered in the data. So I just take the impact. This is from 197 million Indians mental disorders. So this is before the pandemic based on data from 1990 to 2017 in the Lancet. Worst affected are less than 25 years. And more than 50% reason is deep uncertainty, anxiety about studies and career. And then this is the recent study when the COVID started from the University of New South Wales. Cognition issue, memory issues, problems with information processing as a result of social isolation caused by pandemic lockdown. This is a very, I really feel pity for when I see these things, and it's a fact, and this is a recent study done by the founding director of Stanford Virtual Human Interaction. The consequences of this virtual education, 4 primary reasons. Excessive amounts of close-up eye contact is highly intense. Seeing yourself during video chats constantly in real time is fatiguing. Video chats dramatically reduce our usual mobility. The cognitive load is much higher in video chats. This has to do with our 2 parts of the brain. And then this was an earlier study by neuroscientist Pfizer. When we overuse technology, we lose some of our cognitive abilities, much the same way as people who have suffered a head injury, psychiatric illness, or a stroke. So this is a very sad situation. So something needs to be done, something really can really help them out. What is it? So can we turn this into a critical moment of contemplation, reflection? Should we focus only on horizontal growth, or there is some other growth also to be included to make the education complete? Now, already our Professor Bhatta has spoken about what is focus today. commercial approach, increase in students, increase in infrastructures, increase in courses, many things, horizontal growth goes, even at individual student level also it is increase of scholarships, increase of degrees, increase whatever. But there is something at the vertical level also to be looked into, the joy, the fulfillment, a sense of fulfillment, sense of purpose, and many things are there, and capabilities, and all these things are there. So let us revisit quickly on the thoughts of great thinkers on education and see how we can incorporate them. We have Jiddu Krishnamurti. He says to bring about an integrated individual. Just mark this point, integrated. And then Mahatma Gandhi, he says stimulate the spiritual aspects of child. Then we have a statesman saying it's a foundation to learn more things in the school of life. Then we have Swami Gautamananda from Ramakrishna Math. He says it has to be a life transformer. Then we have Bhikkhu Bodhi. He says it should nurture the seeds of spiritual nobility. Then we have Swami Vivekananda. He said it should manifest the perfection which are already existing inside. So these are very good thoughts. And what is the reason that in the education it could not happen? So I take one example of a great educationist, scientist, and I must say that he is a real role model for the present century. I don't know how many of you all know that he has addressed more than 13 million students, including school, colleges, researchers, all over, everywhere, So I just somehow I'm very impressed by his journey. And so this is the message he gave, that all birds find shelter during the rain, but eagle avoids rain by flying above the cloud. So this is the mission of education to evolution of great citizens. Basically, the eagle, if you have noticed, this is a good time during pandemic, you can go to the terrace, if at all anything, that it uses the faculty and facility given to it by God, that when there is a storm and thunder at the lower level, it uses the same support and climbs higher and goes beyond the clouds where it is still. On the other hand, other birds are very fearful. They run here and there and try to look out for shelter in a tree. So this is how it evolves. When the need arises, you have to take the shelter of the calamity and climb higher. So this is the message is given. Attitude makes a difference. Okay. So this particular evolution to higher level is possible through Athato Brahma Jijnasa. This is just an introduction. We will keep on taking it through applications. So this is now, therefore, one should inquire into the nature of Brahman, same as absolute truth and same as God. So now it's not something like, present tense or adverb. It talks about an awareness. It creates an awareness. What is so special in human form? It is completely equipped to inquire about higher truths. And this path of inquiry completely facilitates evolution of human consciousness from lower state to higher state. So when you talk about evolution, it has to do with the consciousness. So this is one important thing I would like to say. This is a consciousness-based paradigm. And in Vedanta is supposed to consider as the topmost philosophical and scientific treatise based on our Indian and spiritual culture. And here we have two schools of thought. One is monoism by Adi Shankara and monotheism. We have a Brahmanacharya as well as Madhvacharya and others. So basically, in T.D. Singh thoughts and Swami Prabhupada, we come under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, wherein we try to synthesize both the schools. So there is no question of trying to say this is better or that is better. So you will see that how we are accepting both and seeing the perspective in that sense. So so this is based on a consciousness-based paradigm. When you say evolution, means it has to do with the consciousness, and we'll touch upon it. So what is this higher state? So God has created human being with some faculty, and that must be used with reasoning to reach him. And this is the mission of human life. And this is what is the highest use of intelligence. So quickly we take T.D. Singh's thoughts. Now, as per Vedanta epistemology, we have two categories of knowledge, para and apara. Both are useful. And because in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna outlines it, what is complete knowledge? I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and nominal, by knowing which nothing to be known. So complete knowledge is holistic knowledge. It is called inclusive knowledge, whatever you call. It is actually knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit, and the source of both. So that is how T.D. Singh calls this as balanced education, para and apara, and there is something which is connecting them. So what is para and apara? He says, para is spiritual knowledge, higher knowledge, changeless, eternal, transcendental, and knowledge of conscious living being, transcendental life and God, experienced through the discipline of yoga, meditation and devotional service. Just mark this. And we have Apara Vidya, material knowledge, lower knowledge, changing, temporary, external. Just because it is mentioned lower knowledge doesn't mean that it can't be discarded. These are relative terms. When you compare with something which is eternal, changeless, and something with that connection, we call lower knowledge. It is knowledge of gross and subtle, experience by sense perception. And here it is experience different. And it cannot explain higher meaning of life and deeper dimension. So, and this is needed. It is corroborated by Francis Collins, Director of National and Human Genome. Science is powerless to answer several questions. Why am I here? Why did the universe come into? What happens later? So we need to bring all the power of both the scientific and spiritual perspectives to bear on understanding what is both seen and unseen. So that was the first component. Second component is the relationship between teacher and student is very, very important. It's paramount. When both are situated properly, the transmission takes properly. So this is one important component. First component was para and apara, and second component was relation between student and teacher. Now in contemporary times, this apara and para, contemporary times means age of science and technology, because it is important that we have to fit into the current era. So we call it as science and spirituality. So what is that? Then holistic education takes shape. It is scientific temper and spiritual wisdom. So scientific temper means a person with scientific mind is highly inquisitive. He does not take things on face value. He wants to experiment and verify for himself like great scientists. And this is how his curiosity drives the mind to verify if the statements are really true. It can be from science domain, or it can be from a physical domain, or even from the spiritual domain. Nothing accepting on blind faith. And second point is a student must be trained from very beginning to not be falsely proud. This is spiritual wisdom, because if this is taught in the beginning during childhood, then he will grow up as a very noble citizen. So here I give a good example of, as I said, Abdul Kalam's life. So when he was in schools, he was brought up in Rameshwaram. So somehow I was impressed. You can read the books, that Wings of Fire. So in that he talks about his good teacher and is fitting into the scientific temper and the spiritual wisdom. So there was a theory class given for 25 minutes explaining how the birds fly, how they take off, how they, with a diagram, how the flapping, the tails turn, and finally at the end of the class, when he asked how many followed, and Abdul was the first one to say, I didn't follow. And then subsequently everybody said. So it was decided they'll be taken to a seashore. And Rameshwaram seashore is beautiful. So there they saw the marvelous formation of birds with the purpose, and they all were amazed. So when these formations were taught in the theory, they could not understand. But here they saw, actually you can see the down, there you can see the formation here, this point here it is there. So you see a pattern. In fact, you can see when the sun set, you go to the terrace, you can see how they fly. It's so nice to get connected. They were amazed to see all these things, wings flapping, and how the birds are moving the direction they desire, many things. So then he asked one question, where is the engine and how it is powered? And he answered, it is powered by its own life and the motivation of water. So this all was understood in 15 minutes, and they could grasp it. So this was a combination of para and apara. So Abdul Kalam, Dr. Kalam says, the bird's flight entered into me and created a special feeling. So that is the significance of para. So something they could see, they connected to nature, they connected actually to the living. They connected to a conscious bird, try to understand, not in the blackboard. So this makes a difference to have an impact in my life. And then by the time he developed and he became an aerospace engineer, he was very convinced. For me, science has always been a path to spiritual enrichment and self-realization. So holistic education is for, TD Singh says, our goal is to make our students as worthy and exemplary citizens of society so that they can cope with the changing sceneries and landscapes in life's journey with confidence, dignity. So if you understand again from his life, everybody knows about this launch of Rohini satellite in 1989, and how after working for 7 years in 88, it was a flop, it crashed, and in I think 89 afterwards. So in his life journey, you can see that the confidence he developed based on the vertical and horizontal growth. And here it is important, both the knowledges are useful and they must be integrated. What is that integration? The study of Aparavidya should ultimately lead to Paravidya. So that is what we will see. So this vertical growth becomes very primary because education is only available in human form, all the education, and this facility for higher inquiry, that is Athato Brahma Jijnasa. And this is the facility through which the evolution takes place. It is provided only for human and not for other species. And the faculty developed for specialized inquiry because human has a special role. And this is what we have to inquire. Hence, in the first level, we need to understand about uniqueness. So here is what we come to that. So this information we get through ancient knowledge. So uniqueness and orbit. So this I will just rush through. Basically talks about how the different species of life, within the species of life, human species are the crown jewel, because they have come a long way. Now, normally when you come a long way, you know that something you have achieved, right, in life. So same way, they have come after changing something like 8 million forms. That means consciousness, subtle, So this is a very important thing. And here I would just like to focus that this is all from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We know that when you compare matter, living with non-living, it is normally we know that living we consider superior. Okay, because it has some symptoms. Even a bacteria has got some small symptom, unicellular organism. And then comes the sense perception start. So we have first the tree, and the tree has got, it can see or touch. We see that it changes the direction when there is a block. We say branches go in other directions. And above that, we have sense of taste is better. Then we have sense of smell. These are just examples. There are more examples. Then we have the bee. Then we have the snake, whose sense of hearing. So you see that how the senses are developing. Then we have the, this is evolving. Then we have the crow, which can discriminate between one form and another. Basically, this is the Bhagavatam talks about how we have evolved, and there is something more to evolve. That is, whatever, now you see from the sense perception, it goes to upper and lower sets of teeth. I mean, it comes to the physical anatomy. But the point I'm trying to say is, whatever is there in the lower evolutionary state, that is all there, but something else more we can to uncover, more something. What is that? How far can we evolve? So that is what the Vedantic model of evolution, it talks that you can evolve till you become a complete human being, that is self-realized soul. And that is called as fully bloom. We have three types. I mean, we start from budding, then we have blooming, and these are the phases or the stages. Actually, there are different, growth of consciousness, evolution, covered, shrunken. This all are the lower species. And then human form begins. It is like a bud. And we have a free will. So this free will enable us either to misuse and go down. That is how we have in our Hinduism, Buddhism, all we have this reincarnation, transmigration. This is all happening, free will, karma and all. I'm not touching onto that. I'm basically trying to tell that it is possible that we can go, the consciousness can evolve, and here is where the education can make a difference about evolving. Okay, and we have to understand here that these are not yet available from the physical domain, and this has been confessed by many scientists. I'm just quoting one who had dialogue with Dr. T.D. Singh. We do not yet have scientifically come to that figure, but it's in order. So we must take these philosophical aspects, and it is worthy to consider. So this point, so this particular growth of what I talk about evolutionary process is actually happening like from inside. Growth of a flower, the bud, you can see the covering of the bud, and then it grows, the blooming stage and all. So the human form, it has got a provision that as it is growing, we have better situated to evaluate our exceptional position. Now we saw the lower species, but we have some exceptional position to realize my original nature, self, and a supreme consciousness and our relation. So this is possible through inquiry. What type of inquiry? See, inquiry is a fundamental quality of life. Everybody inquires, even the birds, animals. You see, they ask for food, they ask very shelter. When the rains come, they look out for shelter. When they're hungry, but we are talking about specialized inquiry. So human form, consciousness is developed sufficiently to begin scientific spiritual inquiry to establish relation with absolute truth. So this is the Athato Brahma Jijnasa. And it is at this point, at this sort of inquiry, the questions of we are able to awaken ourselves and get an approach to solve our problem. Until then, we are not able to, because we are actually trying to take the solution from a different domain wherein the absolute truth is situated. So that is how the awakening happens, and that is how we are able to question. Otherwise, we remain ignorant. We don't even know we are suffering. So this is very important. So Brahma Jijnasa means what is the nature of life? What is the duty of life? And what is my responsibility in the cosmos? What is my responsibility towards other living species? And all this higher dimension question, which doesn't have answer in physical domain, all that comes in this. And these questions cannot be raised by lower species because human being is a special particle and all the consciousness spectrum are developed. So it is very significant here. And so now where is this subtle body consciousness situated? So this is a very simple understanding, one dimensional. That is, Vedanta describes that consciousness is beyond mind and brain. So here, this is a simple understanding given in Bhagavad Gita 3.242, sorry. So here we have three planes: gross plane, subtle plane, spiritual plane. So this is very important understanding because normally in our, I want to restrict little bit to the education framework. I'll try my best. So normally what happens, we talk about personality development, emotional growth, emotional quotient, spiritual quotient, intellectual quotient, and we talk about, inside we have to grow. But if I do not know what is inside, and I'm just going on, many thinkers from Western scholars, they talk. But if you are not having proper understanding what is inside us and what is the relation all these layers are sharing, how are we going to achieve the cause of this emotional quotient? So here the hierarchy is given, how it is working senses superior, like you can see here. So it is important that the education curriculum should be able to sustain this hierarchy. It should not disturb it. If it is possible, only then the growth take place. If it is not possible, then there will be a conflict between, we call as skills, values, or inner life, outer life, whatever you may call. So these are the things. Now I'm taking you to one more layer. It is called like a cross-sectional layer, but I will not touch deep into it. There are a lot of philosophical aspects and which we cover in our course. But what I will do is, in the end, I'm covering some application. Through that, I will give you some synopsis about these koshas. These are the stages the jiva goes through. And this is very important. We spoke about this subtle plane, okay? So in the subtle plane, this is Prabhupada says, there are different koshas. We say covered consciousness, budding consciousness, blossoming fully. So these are like something like different departments of existence: Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. So basically, the material civilization, what we call all this technology, internet, all of them are situated up to the Manomaya. Not even Manomaya, it is only up to Pranamaya. Like we call animalistic tendencies and all. In fact, Sripad Ramanacharya said, those who are following a cultured life and based on whatever scriptures or religion, they just, and they philosophical understanding how to live, ethical, they come to the level of Manomaya. But all three are on the materialistic level. They have not yet connected to the absolute truth. In the sense, this, I'm trying to talk about this. There is something called as a supreme consciousness outside. I will come to another slide. And center, suppose we have the self. So that is also spiritual. That is also spiritual. And in between, these are the blockage. That is called the covering. So that is the purpose, that how exactly we have to dissolve it. And different schools have taught their own processes. So we also have different processes. So I'll touch this later. See, you can see this supreme consciousness and super. So basically, men grow when inspired by a high purpose, when contemplating vast horizon. So this is by Nobel laureate. So everybody knows, but what is that high purpose? So the high purpose is we have to get back to our spiritual nature. That is what Swami Vivekananda said, bring out the perfection that is there in spiritual nature. So that is possible only if you connect. That is, the spiritual self should get connected to the outside supreme consciousness. So this connection, you have to remove the barricade inside. Okay, so that is important. So basically, from this you understand, when you talk about human growth or holistic growth, or we cannot just think from the human anatomy external. We have subtle plane, we have spiritual plane, and all this together has to take care of the growth of a student, growth of a faculty, and also some of the application. I'll take it up. Now I'll take to the next slide. I've just split it up because in case, can you see it?
We are seeing the slide.
Is it okay?
No, you need. We are still seeing the slide number 40. So
no, what is the title? Holistic education, purpose and reflection.
No. We are on same the previous slide. Living.
Okay. I have to share again. Okay, yeah. Fine. I got it.
But you have to come out of this slide.
No, I got it. I know it how to do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Now we can see it.
Yeah. Okay. I forgot to switch on. Okay. So now, after giving a glimpse, now purpose and reflection. So based on this existence of subtle body and spiritual plane and all this thing, ultimately how the holistic education has to have its purpose, and let us reflect on that. So the first point is it should help to inculcate spiritual qualities that already our Professor Bhatta has said. Because if you don't have this foundation of this moral fiber, it will be very difficult to seek higher knowledge. Or in other sense, we will not be able to appreciate the higher dimension of life. And we will think whatever we are doing at the lower level, that is at the Annamaya and the Pranamaya, whatever these levels are meant for, like having motivation, desires, it's of a different category, which is restricted to the material realm. So we will not appreciate something. So for that, this foundation is needed. And for example, humility, he has already spoken. So now I'm talking from a different context. So it is, he says that because we have different areas of studies, mathematics, it is possible to spiritualize mathematics by maintaining humility while solving mathematics problem. So here it is important that when he was discussing with Sir Roger Penrose, they came to the conclusion that mathematics is very mystical. And in the sense, we see that today's students, I don't know, I find many of them, they leave mathematics, have the fear, and they take some other subject. Okay, if passionately they're going to learn arts, music, that is fine, but out of fear or because it is tough. So it's very important that this humility, see, there are certain things in mathematics, especially because we know from the Ramanujan's life also, it has got a lot of subtle mathematics where intuition prevails. In fact, today, all this the physics, quantum world and all this, I have opened a new universe which requires subtle mathematics involving subtle intuition. So it is very clear that the subject like mathematics, you have to be having a strong spiritual foundation, because only then I will have to stick to the problem and try to get the solution with our humility. So for this, the scientists are today doing a lot of studies in that without humility, it is never ever going to be possible to understand what the nature of reality is. So these are very interesting, that all these qualities, what we are talking today in the spiritual qualities that to bring up, all those research is going on. So that is a very big, what you call revolution. And the major, what you call category of people involved are philosophers, psychologists, and scientific experts. And they are nicely coming up with qualitative research. And our scientific experts are trying to do through their empirical and analysis and all. So when this type of researches come out, it is very much there, how to be in awe and how to develop this come out of ego, how all these researches going on. So these things are brought into the curriculum, these studies in 9th standard, 10th standard. My point is, I'm coming to that because people want to understand this type of qualities and also through empirical way. So these researches are there. And second point is, we do have ancient wisdom, knowledge bestows humility. So here, Robert Millikan says that we have to go deeper into Apara Vidya. It is very important because unless we go deeper into a subject, we will not know how much ignorant we are. We just gather here and there knowledge and we may get marks, we pass with flying colors and we think, okay, but then we don't become humility like. So this is there. Now, second is the holistic education purpose, bring out perfection. Now, all these thought leaders have spoken on this. Now, how exactly perfection comes? So, Prabhupada talks in Bhagavad Purana, and this is actually the foundation of our Bhaktivedanta Institute mission. How every knowledge we have to advancement, that is our human intellect, our faculty is sufficiently developed. And it all has to do with our curriculum. That we have to go deeper, and by culture of such knowledge, the human society can attain perfection of life. Perfection of life and the culminating into realization of absolute truth. These two go hand in hand. That is what I spoke about, the higher purpose, the self getting connected to the absolute truth. So this perfection of life, it culminates. So this is how the curriculum has to facilitate for this point, and then only the education becomes complete and it brings out the perfection. For example, let us take the example, AISSQ Rabbi. Now, when he was studying physics, he was so much having awe that it brought him closer to God, absolute truth. So when students came to him, he asked only one question: will it bring you closer to God? So this is a very good example. We have many founder scientists who all have delved into this type, and especially in AISSQ Rabbi's life, when he was going to school, his mother made a difference. He always acknowledges his mother, because normally when children come from school, the parents ask, what did you learn today? But his mother asked, did you ask a good question? This is what they asked. So this way, that changed him and that made him a scientist. This is what he acknowledges. So the first thing in school and college is teach them to ask good questions. So that is how we can go to the even spiritual domain. So this all we have to work out on the pedagogies. And now second is establish interconnectedness. So interconnectedness, as I said, apara and para has to be connected. So how do you establish the connect? Already in our Vedic scriptures, it is there, cause and effect. Since the cause exists in effect, so the characteristics of the former are observed in the latter, and all the founder scientists have established it. We are using their laws, but we are not trying to understand on their personal journey or their conviction. These are not included in our library, in the colleges or schools. So he says this, there is a connection that in the deepest structure of the atom, we could see the greatness of creation. So this is what complementary TD Singh emphasizes very strongly. Science and religions are complementary with one another if the scientific study of matter leads to the conclusion that Brahman exists. So this is very important. And I must say that religion means, he talks about pure religion, where all religions are included, and we're taking the essence of all religion, which has got something to do with the spirit of Brahman, whatever the religions may call. Okay. And for this, we need to adopt scientific temper. Now, what is scientific temper? Now, many times there is a cry of pseudoscience, pseudoscience. Okay, we are not debating. Maybe some are pseudoscience. But then if scientific temper is not going to include few of the facets of scientific temper, especially openness. Openness is not. Why should I restrict my student when he's doing research or when he's doing projects or assignments to just your physical domain? Why am I restricting to bookish knowledge? Why am I restricting only to job point or something, this type of thing? Why we cannot ask him to go beyond your domain? So this is very important, that openness means what? I'm appreciating that if something, some new queries comes from the student or something what he wants is not available, let him try to explore outside the physical domain. So that is what questions in search of higher truth. For example, a physicist perceives the fine-tuned universe and inquires real source of the fundamental laws of nature. And this particular inquiring about what is the source of gravity law, what is the source of Max-Planck constant, this itself is Athato Brahma Jijnasa. This itself it is. It's not that you have to see, there are different approaches to Athato Brahma Jijnasa. And this is what TD Singh is very strongly emphasizing in colleges and schools and all. So when teachers, a physics teacher, what she should, how she should prepare and how she should prepare her students to grow. So this is like you're talking about law of inertia. Are you just giving a simple example or also going to the source? So these things are there. So here is a confession. The observation and experiments of science are so wonderful that the truth that they establish can surely be accepted as another manifestation of God. So education should recognize there is higher existence, absolute truth. If it doesn't recognize, then it is incomplete knowledge, non-holistic. There is no doubt. Because when you say holistic, what is a reference? A reference should be some whole, and that is complete, that is absolute truth. So when you don't have a reference, how can you define holistic education? So that is why inclusive knowledge will nourish intellect, and that leads to human excellence. And next is reveals glories. This all are part. Once you know that there is a connection with truth, now you can glorify. But that should be done through a medium of science. What is that science? Science is Vijnanam. So Vijnanam is experience and realized knowledge. So let us not think science only from the physical domain. Anything we have realized at the higher level, transcendental knowledge is therefore Vijnanam, and it is based on transcendental experience. So this is what, when we come from Manamaya to Vijnanamaya, this is a very crucial point for at least by the time they complete UG, they should know this path, how to shed this third kosha, shedding Vijnana kosha. At this point, you are able to clearly see there are two domains. There is a domain where the absolute truth and the self are situated, and there is a domain of this lower knowledge, whatever you call physics, mathematics. And then it is scientific, it is experience, knowledge of authorities. Authorities include all the founding fathers of science as well as the sages. And it defeats all kinds of speculative knowledge arising from ignorance. So this is a very profound statement. You just register this on your mind. This is the mind can proceed only so far upon what it knows and proves. So this is what is up to the Manamaya, because the senses are interacting the sense object of this physical domain. What happens between Manamaya to reach to Vijnanamaya? That is what is not within the domain of our physical, sciences. There comes a point where the mind takes a higher plane of knowledge. So this happens when you have a combination of ascending and descending knowledge. when you are receiving knowledge from authorities who have realized, like Vijnanam, it can be sages, seers, scriptures, whatever, and then you have your regular knowledge. So that particular knowledge is actually lifting you. And then it comes to a higher plane of knowledge. And all great discoveries have involved such a leap. So this is a point to be noted. Now here, this is a glorification of Lord through his work. He wanted to become a theologian, but ultimately he took astronomy, and there his books were celebrated, wherein and he was so like humility personified, in the sense he said that he could have gone further and he could have ascertained many things, but he left it for others, because his only purpose was that glory of Lord should be recognized from this book of nature. Okay. And now the holistic education should allow to search divine principle. It should facilitate, for example, a medical student who studies the intricate details of body. Okay. Normally what happens, they study the anatomy, external and all. But then the syllabus, the curriculum should facilitate, that is what I said, Manamaya, how to grow. How are these assembled? It requires a divine principle. Some higher wisdom is needed. For example, this is so our human body is such a like a big factory. If you can understand the universe as a macrocosm, our body also is like a microcosm. So many things are working. Smallest unit is like cell, billions of cells, and one human cell has got 2 meters of DNA and 46 chromosomes packed inside so neatly with 0.06 mm. So point is this, it keeps on self-replicating cell, and nothing happens to the packing. You know, we pack something, we pack, how many times we can repack, how many times, but it is happening so naturally, and they don't get entangled. 6,000 miles, 6,000 millions long. And you can see, it's I like this chromosome biologist from Massachusetts. How can it keep everything from becoming entangled? When our headphones in our pocket, it becomes a mess. Fine. So a student working with biodiversity should wonder, how is it possible that there are so many gradations in human form of life and so many gradations of living being? So basically, this particular faculty should be trained through suitable educational curriculum to actually fit into different koshas to raise higher, so that he comes to the point of wondering about these type of questions depending on the nature of the subject. For example, we have this same crocodile. When it comes to a prey, enemy, it is so ferocious, but at the same time, the same jaws, when it comes to a child, its own or eggs, it is so nurturing and loving. So what is that is making it available? I mean, what is it enabling all these things, this behavior? So this is also part of biodiversity. Why biodiversity? We have to restrict to just the bookish thing. So these are there. So T.D. Singh says, when the senses are connected with these type of inquiry, this is called as the nature of absolute truth. And this, when you see, normally when we do meditation, and normally we say sense control, sense control, sense control. Yes, that is fine. We have to sense, but we cannot artificially control our senses, right? Yes, we can take up some path where we have like in Ashtanga Yoga, fine. But you know, sometimes it becomes very difficult to meditate for a long time. On the other hand, we take up the study, okay, any subject you study and go deeper and make such type of inquiry. This itself is sense control, because it is getting connected to the inquiry about the nature of absolute truth. So you will find after doing this and do your meditation, whatever, there is a vast difference. So this is what is holistic education, scientific temper plus spiritual wisdom. You must study along this line, that scientific knowledge should be guided by spiritual wisdom and spiritual knowledge. By this combination, both the knowledge will be useful. You will not misuse it. That is how it is becoming, because you are connecting it. There's a connector. So summing up, now what is the outcome? Now, ultimately, what is the outcome? I'm just taking an example here from the application. See, the outcome of holistic education is the wisdom. I would like to tell you the difference between wisdom and wise. Wise, all are wise. Even the animals are also having that wise, no? We say, no, chatur hai, chatur hai. We know how to, during, before the pandemic started, many of them started hoarding the things, no? That is also because it's a survival thing, you know? But wisdom is something, it's something to do with reveal, and or it is coming from the higher realm. And that wisdom is something which, when we are suffering in life, when there are challenges in life, when there are problems in life, at that time, I'm able to tackle it. So that is, if I'm able to face the challenges and the situation, this is what students need today. So this particular wisdom is what is needed, and that comes only through holistic education by the approach that T.D. Singh has given. For example, we see that vaccines, Everybody took vaccine. Why? All took vaccine because scientific evidence, data. So all thought it will help me. But we also have prayers. I saw yesterday, of course, this I had already put it. Prayers are coupled with scientific evidence. But how many data are we seeing that so many numbers, immunity has increased because of prayers? What is the reason? Where is the at which level have we reason? What subjective consciousness are we in that we are not able to see the data of the left side in large number, but we are seeing the data of the right? It's not that we can do both. I'm talking about the wisdom. We can see it very clearly today. There are so many scientific evidence about the prayers boosting the immunity, and still we are not seeing the data. Okay. Now, second is online mode is here to stay. Now, let us see, I don't know, maybe 1 year, 2 year, and not even blended mode. So we have this digital fatigue, digital dementia, how to tackle it. Now, if we are not going to look into the Paravidya, there is no way this digital fatigue can be tackled, digital dementia, because these are very serious problems. When we try to understand this, now I come to the koshas. At that time, the pranamaya takes care. If you can get rid of that kosha, the physiological imbalance to the air floating, that all has taken care. So reasonably, the fatigueness and the structured lifestyle, how much you should eat, how much you should sleep, and how much, what you should speak, what thoughts, all these are coming from the para domain. So if these are not incorporated and if these are not practiced pragmatically with a daily schedule, it is not going to be possible at all to tackle the digital fatigue. So this is very important that the curriculum must have the online, that maybe after half an hour of the class or 40 minutes of the class, have something on this sort. In fact, I include in this curriculum when I give it. And okay, now I come to an important point, because considering the pandemic, this is a very important matter to contemplate. Be very curious and inquire. Now, I'm sure that in last 2 years, many of us are somewhere seeing the power of a Supreme. We do not know whether Supreme exists or absolute truth or God, whatever you may call. But there is some power that we see that without any discrimination, if anybody is attacked by this virus, all have to face similar sufferings, all have to take similar medication, all have to undergo hospital, whatever. There is nothing like discriminating between country, caste, creed, gender, or intellectual, non-intellectual, poor, rich, nothing. All have been. So that means the power of Supreme was such that it is trying to bring the humanity together to give one lesson. One of the lessons I realized was individual responsibility during pandemic. Because in Athato Brahma Jijnasa, one of the questions is, what is my responsibility towards myself? What is my responsibility to cosmos? What is my responsibility to the other living being? So this particular curious inquiry is facilitated by this pandemic. But if I have not undergone this holistic education, I will never have the wisdom to ask even about the power of Supreme. And here we have a scientist saying, that is Professor William D. Phillips talking to Dr. T.D. Singh. One should be always conscious of this holy calling, of being open to what nature or God has to tell us as being something that we should aspire to. Curiosity is one of the most important things that a scientist can have. And another Nobel laureate says, how we have to live, we can and must ask God which way we ought to go, what we ought to do, how we ought to behave. So you see now, these are the scientists who are excelled. I must say, like they are very close to it. And they are setting an example for us to understand what is wisdom out of this growth. And it's up to us how you understand this and apply. And here we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, this is one application of wisdom. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. If an Indian is educated in Vedic principle, he is able to perform the most beneficial welfare activity for the entire world. I've taken this particular, verses and this message, a strong message, to convey two things. I will be, through this, I will be introduced to the Kosha's application. And then I will also talk about what is that highest benefit is Athato Brahma Jijnasa. This knowledge about Athato Brahma Jijnasa will give the highest benefit because it is bringing the humanity together. It is giving everybody a chance to become responsible towards cosmos, oneself and all. So here, I want to say about the subjective evolution of consciousness with reference to this. So this, when I talk about holistic education, the wisdom.
Madam, please conclude in 2 minutes.
I will just give me permission of chair. I will need 5 minutes, please,
Okay.
because
Okay,
I've
fine.
got some important applications to understand this.
Okay.
Just 5 to 7 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So this particular inside-outside evolutionary perspective is very, very important, because there is something like, if you see the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Brahman is manifesting outside in different, these are the different koshas. And then we have the self is trying to identify with this objective manifestation of Brahman. So it is difficult to put in this way. I'm taking the same example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, now see, if you try to restrict to India, and then I will think that I'm thinking that I'm an Indian, and my requirement is become like an Indian citizen, in the sense the citizenship criteria is already existing reality independent of my existence, because they have some rules for to become an Indian. You should be domiciled, born here, so and so, whatever. At the same time, we have animals, birds, all. They don't have the awareness. But for me, as I grow, subjective evolution of consciousness means as I evolve, at some point I feel a requirement arises that I must identify with the country. So that is what is a subjective consciousness of this objective manifestation of Brahman. But if you want to restrict to India, that is, I'm talking about my subjective identity, that is very what you call at a lower level. Now, if you want to connect to the absolute truth, take the message. The message is not about its message is said that if you're Indian, then you have to evolve sufficiently to perfect yourself and serve the entire world. So this particular thing, that means you are subject this evolving from my impermanent identity to permanent identity, that is connecting to the absolute truth, because you're connecting to supreme consciousness and trying to understand from him what is your mission, and then that is the mission. I take it up seriously, and that mission I'm trying to give it around the world. So this way you're actually transcending the identity of different koshas and reaching to a different level. So this is called as inside-outside evolutionary perspective. That is a subjective evolution of consciousness from different objective manifestation of Brahman to directly going to the spiritual plane of his spiritual manifestation of Brahman. So this is very short. So the best wisdom we got is from T.D. Singh. Especially it is useful now. He talks about the research of HIV virus. See, he's an Indian, but he's talking about cure for HIV virus for the whole world. This is to know whether the virus is for life, whether it is a life or no, whether it has a chemical or whether it's spiritual. And we can know about the moral, ethical, cultural, spiritual dimension. And there'll be a clear evaluation about the need of the synthesis of science and religion. So this is the outcome of holistic education, that when you come out of the Manamaya, you come with some innovative wisdom, which is benefit to all the world, though you're an Indian. So you see your identification gone. And next example we have is Isaac Newton. His wisdom at the time of pandemic, everybody knows in 1665, there was a great plague. It was at this time, this is apple tree. His mind had gone, by the time when the pandemic took place, he had started thinking about the universe. So he isolated himself. He had gone beyond the Manamaya. Already the training had happened because of his foundation in theology. At that time when he saw the apple falling from the tree. So you see the inspiration that comes when you have reached to that point and how the things flow. The website is given, you can look, and that's how the gravity concept came up. And this is the conclusion he came. The most beautiful system of the sun, planet, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. So now this is the debate, theism, atheism. This is my suggestion. Apply the axiom, Athato Brahma Jijnasa to ascertain. For that, kindly study the journeys. This is the journey of Francis Collins, the director who decoded the DNA Human Genome Project. It is such a tough project. It is for a decade, and 2,500 scientists were working under him. It is not so simple. You see a telephone directory like olden days, like our yellow pages. Suppose all the numbers are strung together like a chain, and you have to separate in terms of city codes, area code, country, all. And that is a big job he has done, but only at the physical level. And at that time, we could see it was a language of God. And then we have this person, God delusion. Everywhere God name is there. You see what he is doing, whether it is a journey or it is a speculation. Then we have a code name God. Those who are physicists, I recommend that read this book. And I wish I could have spoken more on this Mani Bhaumik, but I'm running short of time. He has come from a very poor family. He didn't have even chappals to go to school. But his story is a case of rag to riches. And finally, he concluded Ida Sarva Kalam Brahma, no? Everywhere from the theoretical physics, classical physics, all that, and is very interesting. And he has covered many phases. And there is a department, University of California, dedicated to money bombing, and they are supporting the particle accelerator in Geneva. And many things they have experimented. Is fantastic. So I come key takeaways. First, this lays foundation for lifelong learning, and this gains gains lessons from different categories of teachers. This is a very important point. Nature, scripture, journey of great leaders, saints. Student-teacher relation is paramount, and this wisdom, when you acquire, you can deal with all the complexities of life. It is subjective consciousness based on that when you apply, and we have a refined intellect. It is developed to deliberate on theism, atheism, social issues, economic issues, etc. No doubt about it. And this is a revealed wisdom. This life experiences, experiments with life, spiritual experiments, all these are unique to an individual. And I say this unique in the sense, it just cannot be plagiarized. Today we find, in fact, my premise for this was what is happening in the pandemic. I'm sorry to say that students are copying, whether it is a DTU, I captured data from the professors, including IIT Bombay. I'm very sorry to say this, all copying everything. And there is so much plagiarism going on in the age of technology and doing online. But this is a wisdom, life experience. And this is what we have to hold on to for the rest of our journey, you know. And it's all individual. You have to grow with the knowledge given, and it is completely pure. And so this is a balanced education. It will drive students to the Brahma Jijnasa journey. And Athato Brahma Jijnasa is the bridge from the Apara domain to Parab domain. And foundation theology, philosophy, and pragmatic applications. It plays a vital role to appreciate the higher dimension of life. And therefore, balanced education as proposed by Dr. T.D. Singh for the contemporary era is holistic, balanced, and objective. Now I have a last quiz. This is for you to deliberate. This was the evening news long time back. The pups are stranded on an island due to the rains, and the mother goes to the city every day for food, then swims back to the pups. She swims 4 kilometers every day because it's flooded, but she's so concerned, she goes up and down, up and down. Now, kindly apply, how will you apply the axiom Athato Brahma Jijnasa for this life case? Thank you. Yeah. Now, I welcome question. I've kept some extra slides in case we know.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayanti Chavan. There was a highly inspired and charged presentation, and a lot of stuff has been presented, and a lot of research has been done from various scriptures and journals to present it, especially from Dr. T.D. Singh's books. It was very nice to present all that. I really appreciate. And a couple of things which really I wanted to highlight was you brought about the thing about vertical growth plus horizontal growth, and also the example about the eagle which flies above the cloud when it is having this cloud, the rain, threat of rain, when other bird species try to take shelter in the the trees. And this eagle example also spurred a thought in my mind. If it's for all of us to contemplate that that is you brought about the attitude point. You connected the eagle with the attitude. So better attitude can always take us to higher altitude, isn't it? So whether one is a student or one is in any professional, attitude is the key. And that was very nicely brought about. And so now first let us take some questions. We'll see what are the questions on the chat box. So just be on the line, and I will try to open the chat box for myself to see the questions. There are some questions. Okay. Just 1 second.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. D.V. Prabhu has given his comments.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So I'll take the question now. So the first question is by, let me see, I hope I'm not mixing up the previous presenter's question because it's all in a sequence. Just 1 minute.
Thank you, Amina. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the first question is by Dr. Purna Chandra Pradhan. Dr. Purna Chandra Pradhan is asking, Madam, could you please comment on the spiritual explanation of scientific achievement and the reverse on light of holistic education?
Yes, I'm getting some chat, so I just got distracted. Okay.
Okay, can I read this question again?
Yeah, read it. Yeah.
He says, Madam, this is Dr. Purna Chandra Pradhan.
Okay.
Madam, could you please comment on the spiritual explanation of scientific achievement and the reverse on light of holistic education?
Yes. Scientific achievement and?
Yeah, I mean, basically, whatever the scientific achievements are being, invented or discovered. So, is there any spiritual explanation for that?
Yeah, that is what I said, that, that Albert Einstein's, that one quotation was there. Yeah. And where is that, I'll just take it.
We are not able to hear you.
Yeah, I want to, you can see the slide, right?
No.
Can you see?
No.
You cannot see the slide?
No, we are not able to. Have you shared it already?
Yeah.
No.
Please share the screen, ma'am. Please share the screen once again.
I think we lost her. She's disconnected.
Okay, till the time she comes on the line, I will try to give my thoughts on this, because this is a science and spiritual question. So, see, I'm from the chemistry background, so I can tell you that there have been a lot of scientists who have discovered through inspiration, spiritual inspiration. And one of them that comes to the mind is Kekulé, the benzene ring aromatic cyclic structure, C6H12. The thought of how this structure will look like was completely, it came in his dream. Till that time, he had no idea how this structure is going to appear. Similarly, there was a scientist by the name Otto Loewi. Otto Loewi actually found out the hypothesis of chemical transmission, which he had spoken about 17 years before, but he actually came to know about how this will take place in his dream. Okay. Likewise, in physics, you have the laser and the maser, Charlestown also.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you have come back on the line, so you can continue. I was trying to fill up in between since we lost you actually. Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, so I was just trying to talk about that slide. The mind can proceed only so far upon what it knows and proves. So that means we have this ascending and descending knowledge, So when we talk about this, I think she wanted to know from the spiritual dimension how exactly the scientific achievements are done.
Yeah, she wanted to know, like, the scientific achievements, whatever has been there. What is the how it is connected to spirituality?
Yeah, that is what I'm trying to say. Wait. I'm trying to share that slide, and I'll just. You can see this.
Yes, I think the slide is about to come. Yeah, now it has come. You can make it full screen.
Yeah. So this particular thing I want to talk about
spiritual point. Make it full screen.
As I explained about this. You want full screen? 1 minute. Huh?
Down.
Coming?
I think your net speed is slow, so it is taking time.
Please turn off your video, Jayanti.
Okay.
It will help.
No, now it is coming, right? I can see.
Yeah, it has come full screen now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, like, I didn't touch upon these layers of our subtle plane much, as I mentioned here. The mind can proceed only so far upon what it knows. There comes a point where the mind takes to higher plane. This is exactly where the spiritual dimensions begin. That is our inquiry. From general inquiry, it starts proceeding towards the knowledge of absolute truth. And that is how we come to the level of shedding the Vijnana Maya. And at that time, we are able to discriminate. There are two domains, matter and spirit. And most of the discoveries have involved such a leap. But they have no idea how it has reached that point. So this is where the gap is here. The gap is here wherein the spiritual inquiry comes in, and that spiritual inquiry is Athato Brahma Jijnasa. And in fact, all the founding fathers have definitely compiled to the same thing.
Yes. Thank you, madam. So actually, when you were just about to come, I was mentioning about Charlestown's laser and maser discovery. So he actually has quoted that, he suddenly got an idea that through non-thermal molecules, he can discover it. So this came through some divine inspiration, and he has acknowledged that. So that is how actually spirituality helps even in scientific discoveries. And there are so many, not one or two.
In fact, I have got many more slides. I also want to talk about inspiration.
We'll go to the next question because there are a few questions. I think this question has been answered. So let's go to the next question. Okay. Now, what is the legitimate source to create a spiritual temper? Normally we say scientific temper. So here the questioner is asking what is the legitimate source. So I think
say scientific temper and spiritual wisdom.
Yeah. So
unless, so now we use the word wisdom. See, when I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible.
See, whenever we talk about spiritual wisdom, wisdom is connected to spiritual realm. Because one thing we have to be very clear, that humanity begins when this sort of inquiries about we should be able to solve the problems of life. That is most important. For that, we need wisdom. Okay. And that wisdom comes from the spiritual domain. But that has to be properly channeled with a scientific temper. And that is how we try to combine, try to understand the deficiency, limitation. We take the information from Apara, and whatever the deficiencies, the gap is there, that gap we are filling up and trying to make it complete. And that complete knowledge, when it's given for a person, it brings out the perfection, makes a complete being. It's a journey.
Right. So there are many questions, but now because we have run over time, I think one last question we will ask. I'm just seeing the questions. 1 second. Okay, there is one question by by Lakshmi Priya Devi Dasi, where she says the lecture is very, very inspirational and wonderful. Isaac Roby asked a question to the student. So now, how many teachers are asking the students these days? So introduction of spiritual education from childhood is necessary. Inquiry about ourselves is necessary. So complete knowledge, how they will get from childhood, how we have to implement in schools, how government we can't force.
I got your point.
About private schools. What are the steps taken for this?
I got it. Yeah. So it's a very good question. See, one thing is there. I can tell you that this new national education policy, which began somewhere 2014, it was introduced. That is like a basket, Basket means it has all categories of fruits with leaves, twigs, vegetables. Now it's unfortunately the faculty, heads of institutions, they are not trained how to extract the set of fruits together and the leaves separately, vegetables separately. That means within this basket, we have something belonging to spiritual domain and something belong to upper and para. So now, in fact, we had a conference, in fact, this is by the Association of Indian University. And I have given, I'm normally academic consultant for this purpose only. So I've given a basic course outline on learners evolutionary level. That is for each level. Suppose you're in physical kosha, vital level. See this, you can see, this is the one. For each level, what, for example, this life journey of great leaders who have excelled in their life. And because I've mentioned here, this is for vital emotional needs. This is very crucial to grow to next level. Real life lessons from the life of noble personalities, great achiever. so they can guide perplexed students to remold their goals and help them to face the emotional challenges presented by the competitive environment. So actually, for what you call dissolving each koshas, we can have a separate such that each one will awaken next. At the same time, a man always exists simultaneously, physical, subtle, and spiritual domain, all the three. So it is not that we cannot, invoke the spiritual domain. Even when you're in the physical domain, like for example, suppose I'm earning something for my needs. That could be my primary, this thing, I think my internet, this thing. So, but the point is at the same time, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, but maybe if you go off your video,
yeah, I will do that. That is what I was thinking.
Band is, I think, low.
Yeah,
looks like.
I'm trying to understand where is my.
You can just
my screen,
yeah.
Actually, my screen has become short, so I'm not able to.
Or you can stop the screen sharing also.
Is it there?
Yeah, your screen sharing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah.
sorry. So
your
what I'm
band
trying
is low,
to say
so
that suppose somebody is earning for
you.
living, so that becomes his. I'll stop the video. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what happens is, suppose for me the physical needs are my primary thing, but that doesn't mean that my secondary the curriculum can be such that in the secondary level, even the spiritual awakening can be done. For example, something like how to earn with through ethical means. Suppose so a small dose of a curriculum wherein you give importance, because as I told you, the kosha levels are very important to understand that based on your subjective evolution of consciousness, your requirement at that time, you cannot try to subdue it, Suppose you require, so you must fulfill that and simultaneously gradually have the curriculum to bring in the other domain. So this way, you will slowly find that this domain reduced and other domain. So basically what we're trying to do is the relation between the self and the absolute truth. At the physical level, it is weak. I mean to say at Annamaya. Okay. Then gradually we do such a way that we try to improve that relation gradually through different like T.D. Singh books have given. There are different things, there are syllabuses are there. I mean, in fact, this all I've made a syllabus for this, life scale, a short study of spiritual elements from all faiths can be introduced, and stories. In fact, I have a storyboard with me. That is Abdul Kalam's life. There are nice pictures. What happened when he went to the, after hearing that lecture from the school, he went to seashore with his friends. And whenever they used to go, there's a nice picture. I'm not showing in sharing. And at that time, all children used to put pebbles in the water, but he used to sit and just watch the birds. Okay. So when good birds he used to watch, so his focus became so much on the flight. And then when he took the help of teacher that what I should become, and then he joined Madras Institute of Technology. So everybody came there, but when he came, his eyes was on the model aircraft. And then he went and saw the aircraft, and all students were just watching. But he went and he touched the aircraft. He put his hand. I mean, you see how he has grown.
Right,
so like that, stories, real life, and it will definitely help.
Thank you, madam. I think good insights you have provided with a lot of practical examples, for all of us to understand.
Thank you for all
and I hope the participants would have got enriched with, the right direction that you have brought out from Dr. T.D. Singh's book of the importance of Paravidya. And especially, I like the vertical and horizontal model that you spoke about for holistic growth. So thank you once again. I really appreciate a lot of hard work you have put in to make all these slides. And with this, dear participants, we come to the end of this session. It has been a very exciting and enthralling session. And I hope, like me, all of you would have found it equally beneficial.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
Yeah.
And
thank you, Dr. Professor D.V. Prabhu has sent a comment that he would like to take help for his Bombay Association of Science Education, TIFR. And he has told me that he would like to take my, actually we are close friends from 2007. I've got a lot of academicians who are here, some of them.
Oh, Dr. Prabhu is there?
Yeah, he's there.
So my very humble.
These all are from Institute of Science.
Yeah, I know.
Sheshadri and D.V. Prabhu.
I'm the alumni of Institute of Science. Very well.
Yeah. And
I would like to meet him sometimes.
Sir, can you come on the screen, sir? Dr. Prabhu, you just now sent me a message.
It's okay. Maybe
Okay.
we'll catch up with him.
Or maybe it is night for him. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's
No
right.
problem.
So thanks all once again, and
Thank
we would
you
like
so
to
much.
thank Bhaktivedanta Institute, Kolkata for
Thank you.
this session. And I would like to hand over back to the MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Seshadri, for chairing the session, and to our speakers for your insights. Before we close the sessions for today, let us look at some of the courses that are offered by the Bhaktivedanta Institute and affiliate organizations. First, we have online courses on science and spirituality. And you can see there's a range of courses from foundations of science and spirituality to nature of reality, personal experience and professional excellence, philosophical excellence, holistic excellence, foundations and application of science and spirituality, diploma in science and spirituality. So for more details, please write to the email address there on the screen. And there are a range of benefits, among which is inner evolution and spiritual enrichment, broader thinking, etc. Next, we have another certificate course on science and spirituality. It's an online class, which is every Sunday from 7:30 to 8:30 Indian Standard Time. It starts from the 6th of March, right? So if you'd like to register, please contact the Bhaktivedanta Institute for this. And you can see the registration fees for Indian nationals and also for foreign nationals there. So the closing date for this is the 28th of February, so next month, end of the month. Okay, so please log on. You can scan the QR code at the bottom if you'd like to have more information. And of course, we'll flash it tomorrow in case you miss it today. Next, we also have courses by the ISR here, and we can see there's this foundation course on mental wellness is online. So it's Dr. T.D. Singh's Institute of Science and Religion, as headed by Dr. Jayanti Chavan, who was our final speaker for the day. So please log on to the ISR website, and you can also contact her for more details on this course. So I'd like to share with you the plan for the program or schedule for tomorrow, the final day of the session of the conference. We've got another 3 sessions lined up, exciting sessions on biochemistry, aging, and holistic paradigm of life, science, spirituality, and search for the purpose of life in the universe, which was alluded to today in today's sessions. And finally, we have Young Minds Speak, young upcoming scientists from India who are now in India or in other parts of the world, who will be presenting their thoughts on the synthesis of science and spirituality and their understanding and their realizations in their life's journey. So that's the end of today's session. Thank you so much for being with us. And I hope to see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. IST.